Jesse Allen here at Commodity Classic in New Orleans, talking now with Preston Zacharias with CHS Hedging. Preston, great to catch up with you, sir. How's Classic going for you so far?
Well, it's going pretty well. The markets are violent as usual, so we've certainly got something to talk about when the farmers pass by.
Definitely, and markets volatile again here today. We're talking on Thursday. We just look at these markets overall and just everything going on from Russia, Ukraine, to obviously South American weather is another issue, cost of inputs, everything is just inflation. There's so many things swirling around our market trade right now, and it just doesn't seem like the volatility wants to end anytime soon.
No, I would agree with that, and we've got these black swans that we try to identify them as. By the way, it's called a wedge of black swans when you have more than one of them. Instead of a flock of seagulls, it's a wedge of swans. And yeah, there's a lot of risk everywhere. Like even yesterday, as a case in point, a USDA market report is usually a major factor in the market, and that lasted about 2 hours and absolutely went away after that. So we are dealing with headline kind of news, and nobody can predict what the outcome is. And we've got a very unique situation in the breadbasket of Europe that is basically dominating the trade and just adding risk into the market.
Well, and you mentioned yesterday's WASDE numbers. CONAB today cutting their South American, Brazilian soybean production as well, I should say. And so, we're trading some of these headlines, and like you said, it just feels like we trade a headline and then it just kind of blows by. And some of these, normal headlines that we normally trade a lot off of, like a WASDE or CONAB numbers or things like that, they're just kind of getting thrown by the wayside with what's going on in Russia, Ukraine. And, we think about this wheat market too. I mean, live it up how many straight days, and now we've taken a lot of profit off the table, it feels like, here in the last couple of sessions.
Right. The wheat was a specifically panic type of trade because that's human food, and when you run into human food, you run into political problems in every destination. And Ukraine and Russia, we don't know how much access we're going to have to Russia, the largest world exporter of wheat. How much of that is going to be available. So there's a lot of panic out there on trying to get the usual suspects trying to get their hands on the physical product. And we just don't know what the export market is going to look like within even 10 million metric tons. So it's a very big question mark that we can't answer. And so you just have to add the volatility into the market. You have to add the risk premium into the market. And yes, we've had wheat down for $1.50 in the last 3 days, but I don't think this game is over by any stretch.
Preston, I'd have to think it's hard to really, make a generic approach to our marketing plans just with all the volatility. I mean, one grower could be looking at some puts and protecting some of that floor or things of that nature, and another grower might be doing something different. So I would think, to me, it just makes sense for growers to look at their marketing plan and what works for their operation in a volatile market like this, doesn't it?
Yes, and there is a blanket strategy that you can use in a market like this, and what I've been telling the growers is have your destination prices, stick with those, and take the emotion out of the market, but rake back your bushels marketed. So if you're used to marketing 10,000 bushels, bring that down to 5, because we do have bullish expectations, and certainly the risk of higher prices exceeds the risk of lower prices. So I think to err on the side of caution is to bring your bushels back down again. Still do marketing, but just knock it down in half so you have some bullets later on if this thing really goes ballistic.
And I think one thing a lot of folks are watching and how it ties into the grain and livestock markets is crude oil. And I know we've seen that all over the board and wild volatility here in the last couple of weeks as well, Preston.
Yeah, that also looks like it's sort of a panic situation. Heating oil, for instance, in the last 2 days has been basically down $1. And which is diesel. And the energy markets are certainly related. One of the things, if energy is expensive, then corn gets expensive. Beans are not quite as intensely related to that. But, when we're looking at outside influences, I think one of the things that you have to look at is the amount of money that's been printed in the last 2 years, basically to deal with the COVID stuff. We've printed over half of the dollars that exist in the United States today in the last 24 months, and that is the kind of rising tide that floats all of these boats. So one of the reasons why I'm less concerned about the downside, even from these elevated prices, is the fact that we've got inflation on absolutely everything you touch. Crude oil is certainly one of them, and it relates directly to corn specifically, but all commodities. But the rising tide is certainly there, and I think we can see and feel that everywhere.
Very, very true. Well, I know of growers, if they need help with their marketing plans and need a little advice, I know you and all the folks at CHS Hedging, you guys can really help them. If they have questions, they can reach out to you guys, I'm sure, online or with a phone call, can't they?
Absolutely. So specifically, CHS Hedging is an FCM and a brokerage firm, so we can do any of the hedging operations needed for producers or commercial ventures. But we also have a consulting business called Agshurian, which is under the wing of CHS Hedging, and we can do anything from marketing letter only all the way up to a full personalized farm consulting relationship with the farmers.
Well, Preston, I appreciate a little bit of time here at Commodity Classic and chatting the markets with you. Thanks so much, and enjoy the rest of the show.
Thanks for the time. Appreciate it.